All right, Mr. Sutton, Frank Sutton, longtime family friend of my Fisher household, and appreciate the time today. Really looking forward to this episode. I've done a lot of these, Mr. Sutton, and have been looking forward to chatting with you and getting your story out over the airwaves because I think there's a lot of folks that can get value out of hearing your story and what you've built, the different business ventures you've been in. And I know you do a lot in and around the community there with UNC Chapel Hill and mentoring young kids and entrepreneurs. So, with that naturally, I think just letting more folks digitally experience your wealth of knowledge. So, if you want to take a second, Mr. Sutton, to just introduce yourself, what you have going on now, kind of what your journey's been to get to where you're at, might be a good launch pad for us.
Thanks, Davis. Glad to join you and get a chance to chat today. As another young entrepreneur I've watched grow up, so that's very exciting. I have had a fun career, and I tell people it won't be that I've been successful in that many businesses, but I've tried just about everything you can imagine. From
Yep.
my first business being an ice cream store to a banker for 10 years to a convenience store owner and operator for 15, a real estate developer, and more startup. And I've invested in at least 10 startups. And at the moment, my main priority is Positive Distribution, which is distributes consumer products on Amazon and in retail.
Yeah.
So it's been a fun career, and simply put, I try to learn something from each endeavor and take it to the next venture.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I've obviously had the pleasure of knowing that background at least at a surface level. I guess my first question, Mr. Sutton, is just what along that journey, what have you had an affinity towards one of those areas more than the others? Like, has one of those ventures been more fun than anything else? And I know you are you still a CPA technically?
Technically, of course, you obtain your CPA license and pass the test. And I worked for Deloitte for 3 years and got great audit experience. But technically, I have let my license expire since I don't put my represent myself out to the public and do other people's accounting,
Gotcha.
auditing, or taxes. So today, technically, I'm a retired CPA.
Yeah.
But listen, I think that starting experience at Deloitte in auditing was a tremendous experience for me, just seeing different types of businesses and how they operate and their financial systems and their integrations. And that really, I was fortunate to have some incredible mentors. And I decided at a young age to focus on bank auditing. I don't know why, but I was interested in banks. And then that led me to a 10-year banking career where I was very heavily involved in the acquisition and sale of 8 community banks.
Yeah.
So that I always knew that I wanted to use my background in accounting to springboard into being a business owner at some point. Just didn't know when the right point along this journey might come.
Yeah.
And along my first 8 years of banking, I spent 3 of those as a side hustle running an ice cream deli franchise in my hometown of Salisbury, which I joke my friends got an MBA certificate on the wall, and I got the hard knocks of running, doing the construction, doing the leasing, doing the hiring, the firing, and ran a successful ice cream store, but sold it after 3 years, which was
Wow.
probably a great education, but time to take that knowledge and move on.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm curious because you mentioned you've invested. I think you mentioned in 10 businesses. What excites you about helping others? Getting involved in their ventures, putting some money into it, some sweat equity, whatever you've put into those businesses. What excites you about that side of entrepreneurship?
Well, I think the exciting thing for me is I've got to work with some very sharp, not just young, different people my age, but also some very young entrepreneurs from everything from e-commerce. So I look at that as a great example of how, yes, we made money, and this young man developed a nice e-commerce business that was later sold, but I was in the e-commerce business, so I learned a lot about things I don't know very much about, like programming. So I think it's a two-way street. I've tried to learn from the businesses I've invested in, and they've used me for sounding boards, whether it be for a strategic plan, whether it be for how do I get a loan, what's the best way to finance this business, how do I scale it, what type of financial reporting system do I need to have in place. So it's been a great give and take, and they've varied from everything from a robotic surgery device to an e-commerce platform to some very unique real estate models to a service business. So they've been very varied in the type. So and self storage is one of my favorite ones. I invested in two very young men that have now bought and sold hundreds of self storage,
Hmm.
which that is, it's been a great relationship because I've continued to invest in, and I've watched them grow from high school to now in their 30s and running a worldwide self storage business. So it's been fun to keep up with these young people and be a very small part of the journey along the way, and most of the time making a decent return.
Yeah, that's awesome. And most folks would probably look at that and say, "Oh, maybe you're batting 20 or 30% out of the 10 businesses you invested in." We don't know what the percentage is. Maybe you can comment on it. But my main question there is, has there been a theme with those 10 businesses that you've gotten involved in terms of the tough lessons that have been learned across the 10 businesses? Like, I don't know, anything from sales to marketing to operations and finance. Like, have any of those businesses shared a common roadblock that was it just exists in every single business, or is that not the case?
Yeah, I think the common theme for me is that what you, as the founder, CEO, start with your business plan, you have to learn and make adjustments and understand the market as
Yeah.
you go. And what you thought was going to work in year one may not be what makes it work in year three. And the best CEOs find a way to pivot and make the business model work. I mean, I've had some. I've not had any 10X's, but I've had some very good 5X's.
Hmm.
I've had two that I worked the hardest in that ended up with a 2% compounded return, and it's the best deals I've ever done because we got out alive. And I had to, as not as a founder but as an investor, to get a lot more involved financially and management wise than I did.
Yeah.
I expected to do, but the result of that was we didn't lose any money. So if you don't lose any money and you make a above average return on most of them and have a couple doubles or triples along the way, I feel very lucky. But I would say if you listen to a lot of startup information, they talk about is it the jockey or the horse? And when I
Hmm.
started investing in startups 15 years ago on a serious basis, I mean, I probably thought it was, 65% the horse and
Yeah.
35% the jockey. Today, that has flipped 100%. When I invest now, if I don't like the jockey, I don't even go there, even though it's the greatest business model, the greatest product I've ever seen. So I flipped to, I think it's 65% plus the jockey because you have to be able to navigate the changing landscape, the competition. You have to be able to pivot.
Yeah.
And sometimes you find a sales channel that is not even on your first top 10 list is where you really make all the money. So
Hmm.
that's kind of the common theme I think that I've learned that I believe is really important.
Yeah. Let me drill into that jockey comment just a bit further. So when you talk about that, I mean, to me, there's two sides of that. Are you technically capable mentally to drive a product or a service and build a company? But the soft skills, the other side of that comes with that. I mean, how often have you bought into the belief behind, yeah, I think this is a good jockey, but maybe he or she doesn't have both of those. Like maybe they're really smart, but God, they're an asshole in front of people, or vice versa. They're the nicest person, but like I just don't know if they're technically, if they technically have the chops to drive this thing forward. or is it always you need to see both in that jockey before you take that leap with them?
Well, I've been in a couple of those situations, and I think once I had the best business I ever invested in, which I can't mention the name, but I still think it was $100 million company with an incredible intellectual property, incredible product. Had a CEO that is literally one of the smartest people I've ever worked with, and I knew him before I invested.
Mm.
But his problem was there are certain aspects, for example, business development, people skills, partnerships, that he was very bad at because any room he entered, he probably was the smartest man in the room, but after 10 minutes, he had alienated every single person in the room.
Yeah.
So therefore, the company became a $12 million company instead of a $100 million company.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a lot of proof why it could have been more. But that CEO, if he would have simply let us add the people, the one with the people skills, sales skills, and marketing skills, and he would have continued from a scientific product development. He was great at finance. There's no telling where this company would. And sometimes it's hard to look in the mirror when it's your baby and you're a founder and say, I
Mm-hmm.
am really good at a lot of things, but there's certain things I could be much better at. Or I've learned this. Sometimes you're pretty good at a lot of different stuff, but you're spending too much of your time on those things. It's like me. I've learned in my distribution company several years ago. I now have a chief operating officer. I have an accountant. So if you're able to do what you love to do, the company's going to probably be better. And I love to do business development, although I'm an accountant in my background. So
Mm-hmm.
I've carved out what I like to do and added the resources now to handle the other stuff. But a lot of CEOs simply cannot let go. And they think if they run every single aspect of the company, from
Yeah.
manufacturing to logistics to operations to sales, that the company will be more successful. And where they make the mistake, the company doesn't scale at the level and path it should, and it hurts the growth rate because they just won't let things go.
Yeah, there's something to be said there, and those are two areas on this channel that we've honed in on a lot, which is being able to delegate to your point and bringing in the right folks at the right time, but also just knowing yourself and taking a self inventory. And I'll be the first one to raise my hand. I'm not a numbers guy really. Like I can do some basic back of the napkin math, but I'm not a numbers guy. But I am sales, a little bit of operations. Like I understand that landscape, and so that I think is key for anybody, whether you're a technical mind, a sales mind, like knowing where you're good and not good and being able to bring the right folks in. It's what I tell folks all the time as we're growing our franchise operation, folks hop on. I had a guy the other day said, I really hate sales. And I'm like, well, that doesn't like disqualify you from pursuing this business venture. But the fact that you know that is great because now you can go and potentially fill that gap with somebody that really loves sales and is good at it. So I think that's the first step is just knowing what you are and aren't good at. And then the second step is making sure that you can fill in the gaps. Probably part one of that is being willing to do it. And then part two is actually doing it.
Yeah, and I think for people like you in your niche, your business, I see more and more young entrepreneurs that have similar skills as you. And what they're able to do now with the software platforms for payroll and accounting and operations and scheduling, they're able to literally bring in a permanent part time person
Yeah.
that doesn't want to work full time but is really bright, and they
Mm-hmm.
can do that, which keeps you from spending a lot of money, but you still have the final say so to make the final payments or
That's
wires
right.
or whatever you need to do,
Yeah.
and you've got the financial reporting at your fingertips, but you don't have to. You got to look at the time value, the value of your time as an entrepreneur. If you're spending 10 hours a week doing operations and accounting and payroll that someone else could do, this is just an example,
Yeah.
then you're not maximizing your ROI.
That's right. That's right. And 20 years ago, it likely, in your ice cream business, your franchise, things you did in real estate, every time you had a need that you probably couldn't fulfill yourself, it was probably a person that you had to go to get it done, right?
Yeah.
Today, I can go to
Yeah.
the internet. I can go to a lot
Yeah.
of AI tools available that can solve my problem. So, to your point, I mean, the systems that we have that we manage our day to day junk removal business, I mean, that just takes somebody behind the computer kind of, plugging things into the software, but it didn't exist many, many years ago. So phenomenal point.
Yeah, I think one other side note I'll make that I think could be helpful to some people. So we are brainwashed in business school, accounting, no matter if you have one course or had 10 of them, that month end is a big deal.
Hmm.
I decided when I created my last distribution business 11 years ago, month end would not be a big deal.
Yeah.
Every week's a big deal.
Yeah.
So I get the gross profit margin by 10 different sales channels, by 5 different products every single week.
Hmm.
I am making very critical, nimble digital marketing decisions and pricing decisions by channel every single week. And that's at my fingertips, and myself and my team can do that in minutes.
Yeah.
And I still think a lot of young entrepreneurs are not looking at this sales. They need to have someone doing this and it's spit out automatically, which with AI, with macros, with just simple Excel skills. I'm no programmer.
Yeah.
I've got all that at my fingertips on a weekly basis. When my business week ends on Thursday, Friday at 3 o'clock, I have every one of those numbers balanced to the penny, and my non-accountant chief growth officer and chief operating officer can understand them.
Yeah.
And so I encourage more of my entrepreneurs and companies I invest in have this stuff spit out every single week, and month end B shouldn't be a big deal, and you're making more efficient decisions.
Yeah. Can I ask one more question further to that point, Mr. Sutton? When you get those report, all that data you get weekly, and you talk about being nimble and making decisions, like what's a concrete example of something rolling into the next week based on the report you got on Friday that you're going to be maybe implementing? Is it related to ad spend? Like you spent 10 grand,
Yeah.
now you want to drop that down to eight, or like what is that? Is that exactly what
Yes,
you're talking
I spend millions of dollars a year, for example, on the Amazon marketing platform and Google AdWords, and
about?
and we literally make decisions now hourly and weekly on how much we're going to spend, and we have a template every week, and that template might be adjusted for a certain product that I'm making this up, but for an individual product we spend $5,000 a week in Amazon. We might say we're only going to spend 4,000 next week, or we might say it's a holiday. I mean, if we see momentum, we may jump on it. But
Yeah.
that's a very, we've just learned that we do better than a lot of the automated platforms that claim to do it for you because they just spend a lot of your money you don't need to spend at the wrong time.
Right. Right.
But we are seeing that sales momentum in retail versus wholesale versus international, by SKU
Hmm.
every week. And so it helps me identify problems,
Yeah.
and it also helps me identify opportunities.
Well, talking about just knowing yourself, did you learn all of the digital Google AdWords, for example? Did you learn all that yourself and run it yourself, or have you always leveraged agencies where you work hand in hand with them, or did you bring somebody in house to manage it? How does that work?
I have nothing against outside agencies, but I've hired 6 in my memory. It may be more, and they've all been given. I haven't even argued with them about their fees. They all got a 6-month contract, and I said at the end of 6 months, you're either going to be on board or you're not. All you got to do is grow the business.
Yeah.
We're 0 for 6.
Yeah. That's
We're 0
frustrating.
for 6. Now, you start with the CEO, it sounds great. Then they turn you over to the second person. You're with the intern in week 3 that does the same thing for 30 companies. They don't even
Hmm.
know what my product is.
Right.
So we have dedicated analysts for each product, such as LACES, and some of our other products. That is their life, managing that marketing spend and the related customer service and matters. again, I'm always looking for a better way. I mean, we
Yeah.
use some software. We bought some tools that help us give us a new viewpoint from that. We occasionally will bring in a consultant and do it. Like right now, we're doing a marketing spend audit, just a one-time audit to see, are we missing something?
Mm.
Amazon is like playing the world's biggest video game with no rule book. And they change the rules literally daily, and they don't tell you they change the rules. My team has to find the rules or
Mm.
find the changes.
Sounds like
So
Pac-Man.
you just got to stay on it. And so I keep looking and talking to agencies. I think we had a meeting today with one I wasn't involved in, and I said, guys, same story. Can you grow it or can you not? Because
Yeah.
we're not looking just to have you pay you a fee and you do nothing.
It's such an interesting and unique world that I don't know that anybody really understands until you actually own a business and need to exist on Google. I mean, that's a massive piece of the junk removal industry, right? It's reactive. Sally Sue goes out in her garage, gets a wild hair to clean it out, and she's going to Google to figure out who can come out. And if you don't exist on that first page, you're screwed.
Right.
So figuring out your campaigns, I mean, every time you mention six agencies, every time you go through an agency, there's a backlog of, well, now that new agency, even if they're great, it's going to take a few months for them to ramp up and start showing results anyway.
Yeah.
So it's a tough business to be in. I can't even imagine the world of Amazon. Can you give
I'm
the
waiting for you to. I'm waiting for you to figure that problem out for me. Just let me know.
If I do, I'll create a course and I'll give you free access, but I'll charge
You'll
everybody else.
make a lot of money if you can figure that one out. It's unlimited what you'll make.
That's right. That's right. Can you give the audience some idea of positive distribution in your business there, what all it entails, what you guys do exactly?
Yeah, it's a fun little business. We've been around 11 years. We have today 9 full-time people, and we manufacture today in China, Taiwan, and Vietnam. We've diversified for some logical political reasons. A little bit worried about our best friends in Taiwan, but they don't seem worried, and they're wonderful people. But anyway, we manage. We're lock laces, our primary product, number one not no tie shoelace in the world. We're distributed in 3,000 retail stores in 50 countries, and we have 100,000 positive reviews on Amazon, which I'll challenge anybody to find someone else that has 100,000 4-star reviews.
That's amazing.
And we have a multi-million-dollar sock business for the brand Prince. We're getting ready to introduce a pickleball sock, a pet product, and a pregnancy product, which you're going to need for your wife. I
Yeah.
happen to know your wife. So our big goal this year with Grant, my son-on Bob, the Chief Growth Officer, is to keep our little Mickey Mouse lock laces going. But at the same time, we are desperate to get. We have 4 new products in the hopper, and I think the pet product and the pregnancy product will hit the streets this summer.
That's
So we're
awesome.
very much involved in that. We also are constantly talking about brands, if we're not buying, trying to license their product. So our expertise goes from logistics. We never ran out of a SKU during COVID with some very very maverick and nimble shipping around the world, which my CEO totally handled.
Yeah.
And we're good at digital marketing analytics. And because of that, I realize we're more than a shoelace product. We're really, really good at Amazon. So we typically manage, some go, some stay, but we typically manage 2 or 3 third parties Amazon business. So
Mm.
what that means, they have a product, they're in retail, wholesale, manufacturing. They might be in many large big boxes, but they just say, listen, we don't want to live the world of Amazon. We don't want to figure out Amazon. So we charge them a very minimal overhead fee to manage it on a weekly basis. We do all their logistics and all their digital marketing spend. And then we take a profit share. And frankly, if we don't make them money, then it wasn't a very good deal for us because we're just paying the salary of the person running it.
Hmm.
And we've had a lot of success in doing this. And we have a history of getting people profitable within 5 months on
Yeah.
Amazon.
Yeah.
Reason that's important, anybody can sell on Amazon, but you might spend so many millions on marketing that you sold a ton, but you didn't make a penny.
Right.
And we want our customers to be profitable, because if they're not profitable, we're not going to have a very good relationship.
Hmm.
So that's been a fun side business that's come outside of what we've learned in 11 years on LACES.
That's fascinating. You've obviously been more on the product side, whereas I've been the single thing I've done, which is service based business. And so we have an outside sales function. Like there is a time and place for cold calling people within our business. Do you have that function? I know that I feel like in the past I've heard that you really kind of wear that hat, and more so on the partnership level, right? You've done a lot of that relationship building with various folks. But do you actually have like an outside sales team, whether that's in house or outsourced, that tries
Yeah.
to push product?
So that's a great question. We handle our international business by having international distributors. We have them from Dubai to Australia to the UK, all over Europe, pretty much everywhere we need to be. Now, they are actually buying our product and taking ownership and then selling it and spending the digital marketing. So they're buying the product outright, and they know their markets better than we do.
Yeah.
In the US, we have a rep network, meaning that we have independent reps that are self-employed, and they go out and call on specialty run stores and the Dick's and the Rack Rooms and Academy, which we're all in. And they have no risk of ownership. They simply take the order. We ship it out immediately every day from our warehouse in Durham, and it goes directly to distributor. They never touch the product. We send out samples, point of sale material, sales sheets. All they do is get them in the, get the order, and we do all the work, and they get a flat percentage paid every single month.
Huh.
So
Interesting.
that's a rep network.
Yeah.
What Grant does, the chief growth officer, he is more managing. We're constantly doing partnerships with other shoe brands. We have ambassadors for triathletes, Spartan running, pickleball. Most recent one, which is really fun, she's on national TV every single week. Anna Lee Waters, she's the #1 female pickleball player in the world at 17. She wins every single singles, doubles, and mixed doubles at the highest level in the world. She's in Phoenix this week, and she is the GOAT of all pickleball. And she would probably be ranked by #5 in the world if she played with the men.
Wow. That's awesome. And
And
what is she promoting? Is she
she
promoting
has her own packaging, Anna Lee Water Lock Laces.
lock
So
laces?
she's amazing. She'll be playing in Cary, North Carolina, in the PPA tournament at Cary Tennis Park in April, and she's on TV all day Thursday through Sunday, and she's just incredible.
Yeah.
Not even close. She's #1 in every category. So
Yeah.
she wears lock laces every time she steps outside in an athletic shoe, and it's on her visor that she wears in every single match. So that's been a lot of fun.
When all the products that you have today, Mr. Sutton, that you can and do sell, everything that you just went through for maybe 2 minutes there, like you summed it up. But I'm thinking, God, that sounds like a long, long time of building a network of. You talked about the sales function, but just product development, how you get different manufacturers to manufacture your product. You talked about being in Europe and all over the globe. Like, did you already have all of your network that makes Positive Distribution go today? Was that in place when you started Positive Distribution, or has it grown since you got that off the ground? Maybe with
No,
lock.
when I licensed Lock Laces in 2011 from the founder, Eric Jackson, he had a manufacturing factory in Taiwan, and they sent him the laces and the cord tips and the locks and the pieces to Baltimore, and he sold them in a Ziploc bag.
Hmm.
So we literally knew that was not going to work to scale it, because he was only selling 100,000 a year, and we're selling 1 million every year.
Yeah.
So we had to get all that manufacture upgraded in Taiwan, and then we had made custom packaging. And so then we started shipping full container, 250,000 at a time by ocean, which dramatically reduced our cost of manufacturing.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to put the warehouse. We have 300,000 units sitting in our warehouse today because I will never run out. I
Yeah.
refuse to run out, and that's the only way my CEO ever gets terminated, and he knows it. I'm the bank, and so I don't believe in running out of SKUs ever, and that's allowed us to be very nimble. We had one deal, we sold 200,000 in one day to Humana Silver Sneakers program. Why
Wow.
was that? Because we had them available and we shipped them in a week.
Mm-hmm.
So, to answer your question, we've gotten really good at the logistics and the shipping. And now I could show you mine made in Taiwan versus Vietnam, and I literally cannot tell the difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's very strange because it sounds simple, but because we have 6 layers of elastic and these can't break, they can't break on a triathlete or a Spartan runner, and the tension cannot change over 26 miles. When we went to, senior citizen and kids and all that, we didn't dummy our product down.
Hmm.
So we're on our 15th cord clip. That clip can't come off when a professional arena football player grabs his shoe and rips it to tighten it. But if a kid got the lace stuck in something, it's got to come off.
Right.
So it is a very technical product that's been through a lot of testing, and so yeah, we've learned as we've had to learn a lot about some things I never thought I would have to
Yeah.
learn about. But
I bet.
and
Have
hey,
you?
learn and manufacturing in Vietnam is different from China, is different from Taiwan. So I really give total credit to my COO of 11 years. John is absolutely amazing, and he came from a sports distribution business, a large one, and he has learned a lot about manufacturing and logistics that has given us a chance to be able to do some of this stuff.
Yeah, that's amazing. And certainly not to get political at all, but I'm curious as it relates to your business. Have you guys seen an impact to, since you're bringing product from overseas, have you seen longer lead times to get it, higher shipping costs in the last 6 to 12 months, or not really, just because you do such large
Well,
volumes?
what generally happened in COVID is the full container shipping, the actual container was costing 30,000 before you put the product on.
Right.
And they were all getting backed up in the ports in Long Beach and other places for inspection. So this is where John started, because we're such a lightweight product, an ounce, and 500 are in a 30-pound box. He found ways to send partial shipments through other people that own containers and just wanted, I joke, kind of wanted us to fill an air pocket in the container.
Right. Right.
So,
Makes sense.
so we probably, it was a pain in a way. So instead of having one shipment a month, we might have had 8 shipments a month. And some of them might have been on a train from California. Some of them came into Wilmington, Virginia Beach. But guess what? Shocking to me, I figured we wouldn't run out, but our costs would go way up. And to John's credit, our cost, if you go back and we audited it for those years, did not go up. And
Wow.
that, I know a lot of people in the business that their shipping and customs went up 30, 40, 50%.
Oh yeah.
And John gets all the credit, but he literally was on the phone night and day between all these countries and custom agents and
Yeah.
shipping agents and trains, planes. I mean, it was crazy, but he pulled it off.
Shout
If
out to
that
John.
answers your
Awesome,
question.
awesome job, John. Well, Mr. Sutton, we'll wrap it up here in just a minute, but I would love to give the audience just a look into your life, your hobbies. I mean, I've known for many years that you love tennis, but what else are you into these days? Just out of curiosity.
Well, obviously, because I have to go to so many professional pickleball events, I'm not that good, but I will tell anybody you only have to play tennis, you got to play for years to even enjoy it. Pickleball, you can play twice and have a ball.
Yeah,
I just went to the Bahamas. We set up a pickleball net in the driveway and played every day for 2 hours. So
that's
it's fun. I don't take it as serious. I have a good time. As you know, I love to snow ski. Headed out to Park City and for 2 weeks. First time I've ever done that here in about first week of March. So I'm into hiking now. I took the LACES camo boot lace, which has went huge, and did the whole Grand Canyon rim to river. Incredible hike. If you ever get
yeah.
a chance, that's something everybody should do. So my next big hiking trip is hopefully Switzerland in 25.
Wow.
So I love to work hard. I'll probably never retire. God help my kids, but I'm fortunate to be able to travel, do a couple hours work from wherever I am, and so
Yeah.
trying to stay on the go.
I've always known that you and the family travel a lot. What's if you could give one destination as a suggestion to anybody, like go here if you're going to spend money to go anywhere? What would that be for you off the top of your head?
I would say Galapagos or South Africa.
Yeah,
Cape Town, South Africa is very doable, reasonably priced, and gorgeous, and a lot to do and see in one city. Galapagos is probably one of the most unique trips I've ever done, and so those are some good ones to add to your bucket list.
very cool. Well, if you want folks to find you, find the products that you guys support and publish, where should folks find you, Mr. Sutton?
Well, they can certainly find me on LinkedIn, or they can just go to customer service at LACES.com. We ship every day, and we always have all kind of crazy promotions going on. So, I tell people, give them a try. The hardest thing about our product is people are lazy, and it's no fun to put in their shoes, although it's one size fits all and it takes 8 minutes. But make your life simple and never tie your shoes again, which is one of our slogans, along with my all-time favorite. I'll tell you this: I paid $5,000 for this slogan. It's priceless to me. Win, never
Mhm.
tie.
That's right. I see it on your
So
email
there you
signature.
go.
Every time you email me and I see that, I'm like, that's a phenomenal slogan. Like a phenomenal slogan and a great story. Well, Mr. Sutton, thanks for joining. I appreciate the time, and hopefully the audience got some good value out of this, as I know I did. But we'll let you be on your way, and good luck the rest of the way.
All right. Good luck to you. Thanks for your time.
All right.